You're our only chance. Lift off! We need to lift off now! Bring around the main gun. Oh, damn. There.
When I give the signal, start just
Now. Start it now.
The Cryptea must have captured the women in charge.
Eric, can you hear me? Hold on. All right, come on, let's take it. All right, calling it in. Some shrapnel damage. Let's go.
Kora.
I'm almost to you.
Target acquired.
What? It's Kora. Open your eye!
Form up on me! Black out!
Oh, my dear dreamers, gather round, snuggle in close. For tonight, we are going to embark on a journey, not with a rush, but with the quiet thrill of discovery. We'll gently soar, with the whispers of courage guiding us, into the wonderfully intricate and surprisingly tender second chapter of Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon saga, a chapter known as the Scargiver. Imagine, if you will, a whirlwind of wondrous events, so beautiful to behold, where feelings run as deep as hidden rivers. We'll softly uncover every brave moment, every spark of strength, and every quiet, brave choice made with a loving heart. We'll watch for every shimmering instant of courage, where time itself seemed to slow, enchanted by the gentle defiance of the farmers of Veldt as they find their mighty strength against the grand, imposing Motherworld. Prepare your hearts, my little stars, for a quiet exploration into the clever inventions, the wise plans, and the strong, twinkling spirits that glow within this universe. I've poured stardust into these stories, weaving them with so much care. So if these whispers of adventure bring a little sparkle to your dreams tonight, then a gentle nod, like a star winking back, would fill my storyteller's heart with light. And if not, dear one, simply drift where your own beautiful dreams take you. Oh, settle in close, my little star sleeper, for tonight's tale is one of wondrous bravery and the gentle stirring of hope, even in the darkest of nights. It's a story that begins on a quiet, humble moon called Veldt, where the scent of rich earth and growing things usually filled the air. Imagine, if you will, the fields of Veldt, bathed in the soft glow of its distant suns. Here, our friends Kora, Gunnar, Nemesis, Tarak, and Milius found themselves once more, along with the very observant, kind-hearted robot, Jimmy. The harvest was usually a time for joyful work, a sacred dance with the land, bringing forth golden grains. But this time, something truly extraordinary was happening. Beneath the quiet rustle of the crops, the seeds of a different kind of future were being sown. Scythes, once used for gathering wheat, were learning to dance like graceful swords, and humble plows began to dream of becoming strong, protective barricades. It was like watching a gentle whisper transform into a brave, clear song. These dear earthy people, whose days were filled with the rhythm of the soil, were now learning to face a challenge from beyond the stars. Kora, who carried the weight of a secret past like a shimmering silver cloak, now stood as their leader. Her task, given by the brave General Titus, was to gather warriors, and now her greatest test was to help these farmers discover the warrior spirit within their own hearts. It was a marvelous feat, like asking a baker to weave starlight into steel, a completely new adventure for everyone. But in these times, every heart had to find its courage. And so, the training began. It was a marvelous sight, a dance of learning. The farmers, at first a little clumsy, a little hesitant, learned to guide shimmering blaster bolts through the air. They learned to move with the land, to protect their home with a fierce, loving instinct. Kora, who once knew the secrets of a great stern army, was their guide, pushing them gently but firmly, for she knew the vast challenges ahead. But Gunnar, with his kind heart and steady smile, always found a way to offer a warm word, a quiet encouragement, softening Kora's edges like the morning dew. It was beautiful to see how their different spirits could weave together.
Then there was Nemesis, a silent warrior whose metallic arms gleamed in the hot sunlight. She taught them to move with grace and power in close combat, her movements a reminder of both past struggles and wondrous strength. Tarak, with his special connection to Veldt's magnificent creatures, even invited the great majestic griffins to join their plans. Imagine these winged wonders, their powerful forms soaring through the sky, ready to protect their home. Milius, the fiery young spirit, helped them think of clever ways to use the land itself as their friend, setting gentle traps and reinforcing their positions. And dear Jane, often found observing the children with a quiet curiosity, seemed to be discovering something new within his own metallic heart, beyond his program duties, finding his true purpose as a silent, watchful guardian. Veldt itself was not just flat land, oh no. It had hidden caves that whispered secrets, ancient trees that stood like watchful sentinels, and unique creatures that the farmers knew by heart. This deep, loving knowledge of their home became a powerful secret weapon against an enemy that relied only on cold, hard machines. They dug trenches, not just for cover, but to gently guide their foes, to make the very ground rise up to help them. It was like the planet itself was waking up to join their fight. The air, it was thick with the beautiful scent of newly turned earth and the distant, exciting hum of training blasters, setting a mood of quiet, determined magic. Amidst all this preparation, Kora finally shared a deep, shimmering secret. In a quiet, almost choked whisper, she revealed her true self, Eris, and the heavy memory she carried. It was a story of the vast, complex power of the Motherworld, a power that could even ask its own to do terrible things. She confessed a past act that had haunted her for so long, a memory of following orders from a powerful empire that had twisted her spirit. This revelation was like a thunderclap, especially for Gunnar, who had come to cherish her. It was a moment of profound vulnerability, showing the depth of Kora's heart and the insidious way a vast empire could manipulate souls. But Gunnar, though shaken, stood by her, his unwavering faith a beacon in Kora's storm-tossed soul, a testament to the power of love and understanding.
Meanwhile, far away, in the dark, shimmering belly of a Motherworld dreadnought, Admiral Atticus Noble, who Kora had once believed defeated, was brought back from the very edge of forever. It was a dark, wondrous process, where shattered pieces were gently restitched, and memories, like scattered stars, were carefully gathered again. The metallic clinks and soft whirs of the machines, the sickly yet fascinating glow of the reconstructive fields, created a scene that was both eerie and strangely magical. His eyes, when they finally opened, were cold, hard, and filled with a singular burning desire for revenge. He was like a reforged weapon, sharper and more determined than before. Given a second chance, and he was ready to use it. He had a new mission from the unseen powers, to crush the whispers of rebellion on Veldt, and to bring Kora, the Scargiver, to their own kind of justice. Noble's flagship, the King's Gaze, was a true marvel of the Motherworld, a colossal vessel that traversed the silent vastness of space. Imagine a city, all of metal and light, floating through the endless void, armed with powerful energy weapons and carrying an army of soldiers, mighty mech suits, and aerial fighters. Its sheer size was breathtaking, a symbol of immense power. The very air around it hummed with anticipation, a distant rumble promising something spectacular. And then, oh, then arrived. The dreadnought descended from the sky, casting a monstrous shadow over the verdant fields of Veldt. The roar of its engines filled the air, a deep guttural sound that promised a grand, terrifying entrance, meant to break spirits before a single shot was fired. The Motherworld forces, a sea of disciplined soldiers in sleek black armor, began their march. The clank of their boots on the alien soil, the soft hiss of their environmental seals, the rhythmic thrum of their heavy weaponry being brought online. Every sound was designed to instill a kind of awe. They were like a well-oiled machine, efficient and merciless, a striking contrast to the brave patchwork group of farmers they were about to face. The first wave of the assault began. It was a beautiful, chaotic symphony of sound and light. Blaster fire ripped through the air, painting incandescent lines across the sky. Explosions blossomed across the landscape, sending geysers of dirt and sparkling debris into the air. The crack of laser bolts hitting shields, the metallic clang of blades, the cries of brave souls. It was a wondrous, overwhelming chorus. The farmers, though their hearts pounded, held their ground, their training kicking in like a sudden burst of magic. Kora moved like a whirlwind, her movements precise and deadly, deflecting blaster fire with her sword, a blur of silvery light. Nemesis was a blur of motion, her dual blades a terrifying extension of her cybernetically enhanced body, slicing through armor with graceful ease. Tarak, surprisingly agile, wove through the battle, his bond with the Griffins giving him a unique edge as the majestic creatures swooped down, tearing at Imperium fighters like avenging angels. Milius directed his forces, his voice hoarse but steady amidst the maelstrom. Gunnar, armed with a rifle, fought with a new ferocity, protecting Kora and the farmers, his earlier anxieties replaced by a burning, quiet resolve. The trenches became a wondrous maze. The Imperium's advanced weaponry and sheer numbers were formidable. Their mech suits, hulking armored vehicles rolled forward, impervious to small arms fire, their heavy cannons spitting death like fiery dragons. It was like watching a colony of tiny, determined ants trying to stop a fleet of mighty tanks. But the farmers had their ingenuity. They had laid clever traps, triggered gentle avalanches of rocks and earth, forcing the Imperium to navigate a terrain that literally fought back. The sounds of explosions were no longer just distant rumbles. They were visceral concussions that shook the ground, sending vibrations through your very bones. You could almost feel the heat of the burning debris, the grit of the dust in the air. The air itself crackled with spent energy, carrying the metallic tang of ozone and the coppery scent of determination. The Motherworld's strength was in its technology, but Veldt's was in its resilience, its ingenuity, and its deep, loving connection to its environment.
Noble, observing the battle from the safety of his dreadnought, was infuriated by the farmers' stubborn resistance. He unleashed more forces, including heavily armored ground troops and aerial gunships designed to break their lines. He wasn't just fighting a battle, he was waging a psychological war, trying to demoralize the rebels into surrender. But Kora, recalling her own brutal training within the Imperium, anticipated many of his moves. She used the terrain to her advantage, guiding her forces into defensive positions, turning seemingly disadvantageous ground into fields of strategic brilliance. Her tactical genius, honed by years of being a weapon for the Motherworld, was now turned against them. It was a grim irony, wasn't it? The very training that made her the Scargiver was now used to protect the innocent. As the battle raged, the emotional stakes rose dramatically. We saw moments of individual heroism and heartbreaking sacrifice. One farmer, previously hesitant, threw himself in front of a blaster bolt to save a child, a flash of pure, selfless love. Another, a mother, fought with a primal fury to protect her family, her love a shield. These weren't professional soldiers. They were people driven by love, by a fierce desire to protect their home and their way of life. The clatter of their hastily assembled shields, the desperate cries of their battle echoed through the fields. It was a reminder that courage isn't always about a grand, heroic gesture, but often about simply refusing to give up, one exhausting, brave moment after another. Kora realized they couldn't simply hold their ground. They needed to strike at the very heart of the Imperium's power, the dreadnought itself. This was a monumental task, almost suicidal, but it was their only chance. Gunnar, ever the unexpected hero, volunteered for the perilous mission. He was no warrior, but he possessed a quiet courage and an intimate knowledge of the Veldt defenses, making him uniquely suited to infiltrate the massive ship from an unexpected angle. His journey to the dreadnought was a tense, stealth-based sequence. He had to navigate treacherous terrain under constant fire, making his way through the chaos of battle, a small, brave figure against the backdrop of unimaginable destruction. The hum of the dreadnought's force fields, the distant echoes of battle, the almost suffocating silence of his hidden path, it all built a palpable sense of dread and determination.
Once inside the king's gaze, Gunnar entered a completely different world. The ship's interior was a stark contrast to the dust and blood of Veldt. It was cold, metallic, and technologically advanced, a labyrinth of gleaming corridors, humming power conduits, and automated defense systems. He moved through the belly of the beast, a fish out of water, his simple farmer's clothes standing out against the sleek, futuristic aesthetic of the Imperium. Every click of his boots on the metal floor, every whir of a passing drone felt magnified, amplifying the tension. He was looking for the ship's core, the central nervous system that powered its destructive capabilities. It was a frantic race against time, with Imperial patrols constantly lurking, their advanced sensors a constant threat. He relied on his wits, on Kora's instructions, and on a sheer, desperate luck that only a novice in such a situation can possess. Meanwhile, on Veldt, the ground battle intensified. Noble deployed his elite forces, including the brutal Praetorians, who were almost impossible to stop. Their armor was thicker, their weapons more devastating, their fighting style more aggressive. Nemesis found herself in a desperate struggle against a squad of these hardened warriors, her metallic arms clanging against their heavy blasters. The sounds of their impact reverberated, a rapid-fire, progressive rhythm of combat. She fought with a ferocity born of 1,000 years of grief and injustice, her movements a deadly ballet at evasion and counterattack. Turok, still leading his griffins, unleashed them on Imperial air support, the piercing cries of the beasts mingling with the roar of dying engines as they tore apart gunships. It was a beautiful yet brutal display of nature fighting back against technology. Milius was everywhere, rallying troops, improvising defenses, his youthful idealism tempered by the harsh realities of war, but never extinguished. Kora, seeing her people pushed to their breaking point, knew she needed to buy Gunnar more time. She charged headlong into the thickest part of the battle, drawing the Praetorians and even Noble's personal guard to her. Her skill was unmatched, her sword a blur of motion, deflecting energy bolts, parrying strikes, and cutting down multiple opponents. The metallic clang of her sword against Imperium armor, the sizzle of energy deflecting off her blade, the grunts and screams of her enemies, it was a relentless, high-octane display of combat prowess. She wasn't just fighting, she was inspiring, a singular figure of defiance against an overwhelming tide. Her actions became a beacon for the exhausted farmers, reminding them that their leader, the feared Scargiver, was fighting for them. Back inside the dreadnought, Gunnar finally reached the ship's power core. It was a vast chamber filled with glowing components and heavy machinery, the pulsating heart of the king's spirits. The air flooded with raw energy, a dangerous, beautiful force. He set his charges, meticulously following Kora's instructions, but he was interrupted by Imperial security forces. A fierce, desperate shootout ensued. Gunnar, the reluctant warrior, found himself exchanging fire with trained soldiers, his heart pounding in his chest, acrid smells and blaster energy filling the confined space. He took hits, he got wounded, but he pushed through, driven by the thought of Kora and the people of Veldt. His transformation from hesitant fighter to determined infiltrator was complete. He was no longer just protecting his home, he was actively dismantling the enemies. Just as Gunnar managed to hold the charges, Noble, now on the ground, became aware of the infiltration. He received a frantic report from his bridge, his face twisting in a snarl of rage. He realized Kora's true plan, her calculated plan. He immediately dispatched his remaining forces to the but it was too late. The countdown had begun. The king's gaze began to shudder, its massive structure groaning under the stress of the imminent explosion. The internal alarms rang, a shrill, piercing wail that signaled the end of the formidable vessel. Noble, seeing his flagship doomed, turned his fury directly on Kora. This was it, the final confrontation between the two nemeses. Kora, the former general turned rebel, and Noble, the reanimated enforcer of the Motherworld. Their fight was personal, brutal, and devastating. The sounds were sharp, visceral, the clash of their weapons, the grunt of effort, the crack of bone, the sizzle of energy meeting flesh. Kora used her sword with deadly precision, her every move aimed at incapacitating Noble. Noble, empowered by his cybernetic enhancements and fueled by a burning hatred, was relentlessly aggressive, wielding his own energy weapon with brute force. Their blows echoed across the battlefield, a metallic symphony of vengeance. It was a true test of wills, strength, and power. past trauma. Noble taunted her, reminding her of her past as Eris, the Scargiver, trying to break her spirit. But Kora, though haunted, had found a new purpose, a new family to fight for, and she refused to yield. The tactical environment around them was still chaos, with blaster fire and explosions serving as the backdrop to the crucible.
As they fought, the king's gaze above them began its final ascent. The explosions started small, internal ruptures that sent sparks and debris showering from the ship's underbelly. Then they grew larger, massive detonations that teared the dreadnought structure, causing it to buckle and deform. The sound was deafening, a cascade of thunderous roars and metallic screeches as the vast vessel breaks apart. Fire engulfs sections of the ship, creating a spectacular, terrifying light show in the Veldt sky. The ground trembles violently, sending shockwaves through the fighting armies. It's a visceral, shattering spectacle. Kora, battered but unyielding, finally gets the upper hand on Noble. With a desperate, powerful blow, she defeats him, ending his reign of terror for good. The final crack of bone, the metallic thud of his body hitting the ground, marks the end of his relentless pursuit. He won't be coming back this time. Just as she delivers the final blow, the king's gaze explodes in a cataclysmic fireball, showering the battlefield with flaming debris. The sheer force of the explosion sends a shockwave across Veldt, kicking up an enormous cloud of dust and ashes. It's a moment of breathtaking destruction, but also one of profound, hard-won victory. The visual of the dreadnought, a symbol of Motherworld's oppressive power, disintegrating in the sky, is incredibly potent world-building. It shows that even the most formidable forces can be brought down. In the aftermath, amidst the smoking wreckage and the tired, bruised survivors, there's a fragile sense of triumph. Many lives were lost, a heavy toll paid for their freedom. The air is thick with the scent of smoke, burnt metal, and the earthy aroma of Veldt soil. The silence after the deafening roar of battle is profound, punctuated only by the distant sounds of mourning and the quiet relief of survival. Jimmy, the robot, plays a crucial role in protecting the children of Veldt during the battle, demonstrating his full awakening and his newfound purpose, not as a destroyer, but as a protector of innocence. His quiet bravery, his gentle guidance of the terrified children into hidden shelters, highlights his emotional journey from a programmed automaton to a sentient being with a conscience. This humanization of technology is a subtle but powerful piece of world building, suggesting that even the Motherworld's creations can transcend their programming.
The cost of this victory is immense. Gunnar, the loyal, kind-hearted farmer who became a hero, dies from his wounds. His sacrifice, though heartbreaking, is a testament to the courage that blossomed from him. A stark reminder that even the quietest moments can rise to the Kora cradles him in her arms, her face streaked with tears, a raw display of grief and love. It's a poignant moment that underscores the human element of this galactic war. The fight is never without its profound losses. The other players, Nemesis, Turok, Milius, stand somberly, their faces etched with exhaustion and sorrow, but also with a quiet resolve. They survived, but not unscathed. However, the news of Veldt's defiance, of a tiny agrarian moon defeating a Motherworld dreadnought, doesn't stay confined to its borders. It echoes across the galaxy, carried by the few rebel communicators that survived. This is where the world building truly expands. The victory on Veldt, small as it might seem in the grand scheme of the vast Motherworld Empire, becomes a spark. It ignites hope in countless oppressed systems, in planets groaning under the heel of Imperial rule. Whispers of rebellion turn into shouts. Isolated acts of defiance begin to coalesce into a larger movement. General Titus, still hopeful, receives the news, a glint of hope satisfaction in his eyes. He knows that Veldt was not the end, but the beginning. The Scargiver, Kora, who once served as the Motherworld's instrument of destruction, has now become its most potent symbol of resistance. Her past, once a burden, is now a powerful narrative of redemption and a rallying cry for freedom. The final shot is often one of Kora, looking out at the vastness of space, knowing that her fight, and the fight for freedom, is far from over. The galaxy, once a place of complacent fear, now thrums with the nervous energy of awakening rebellion, all thanks to a group of farmers, a handful of unlikely heroes on a forgotten moon. The future of this universe, defined by the struggle between the individual and the Empire, has just begun its next terrifying chapter. As the dust settles over Veldt, and the whispers of rebellion turn into hopeful cries across the stars, we are left with a powerful testament to the human spirit's enduring strength. The sacrifices made by the farmers and their newfound allies underscore the profound truth that true freedom is never given, but always earned through courage, unity, and an unwavering belief in a better tomorrow. Their defiant stand against overwhelming odds isn't just a victory for one moon. It's a resonant chord that plays across the universe, inspiring others to find their voice and stand against the end. It reminds us that even in the darkest corners, the light of hope can ignite the greatest revolutions.